This penthouse is listed for $16.5 million. And even though it's in a prime location in New York City, it's been on the market for a long time. The home was previously staged by a different company. But now, the building owners are bringing in the top gun, Cheryl Eisen, with the hopes that her staging expertise will get the place sold a lot faster. She's the go-to luxury apartment stager in the New York area.
So some ways staging can miss the mark is really if you're telling the wrong story, and we'll have to come in and restage it, and that's what we're doing now.
The three goals of this staging are 1. Making the space feel warmer. 2. Adding sophistication to fit an upscale buyer. 3. Adding unique art pieces.
We're going to start with a giant area rug. Then we're going to do a modular sofa. We're going to do an ottoman on one side, a chaise on the other. We're going to do a really cool vintage sculptural coffee table. We're going to do 2 big fuzzy chairs with a round table in between. And then near the fireplace, we're going to actually build in a long shelf hearth, and it's going to become seating.
After the design plan is created and approved, everything gets picked out at the warehouse.
So sofa-wise, we want something low to the ground, sort of low profile, so that the ceilings look higher. I love this piece, and it's modular, so I can use like a whole different configuration, however I want to play with it. This is like a loungy, comfy, and yet still elevated and sophisticated looking sofa. We're gonna add some throw pillows, but I'm gonna choose this sofa and a few pieces of it. So now I'm in the art department, which is like really the key to elevating a space and differentiating it from all other spaces. Let's look at the giant piece that's going in the living room, which is game-changing.
So we've actually printed onto textile a gigantic soup can, and it's really going to be interesting in that room. It's not flat on the wall, and it's also not a sculpture on a pedestal.
And the important part art plays in selling real estate is that at this level, buyers will have a collection of art, and we want to show them how they can display their art collection, and this is a perfect way.
Cheryl and her team work together throughout the process to ensure that all the goals they've set are reflected in the finished design.
We wanted to bring in some richer tones, but not have way too much color going on. So what we did was we used texture. So we've done that here, for example, with these, with this texture of the fur chairs, and they're really big and oversized and cozy. And then we did it with materials like woods. Woods add a real warmth and an earthy moment, but still with an upscale feel. So now we're going into the master bedroom, and I'm going to show you the progress there and what the actual plan is. So the goal to warm up the master bedroom, because it had that really cool brick aspect, is to add some organic shapes and organic textures. The tree in the corner, for example, the organically shaped coffee table adds some softer edges that you wouldn't even expect. And then this giant curved sofa really softens the edges of an otherwise squared off hard room. Now we are entering our custom department, and what we're doing today is doing a gorgeous headboard because it's going on a brick wall, and we want to soften that but still be elegant. Let's see how that's coming along. So these are the drapes. These are going to be gorgeous in the master. Where's the headboard?
The headboard is right behind.
I want to bring this next to the headboard so that we can just make sure that the color tones are right. It's perfect. We're going to make the dining room really cozy and sophisticated. So we're going to look for a softer, rounded back, fabric chair. So these are like slightly Hamptons, so there's something very cozy about them, and yet they're still sophisticated, and they'll look great with this extra long dining table we're going to do. So now we're going to find a few other pieces, maybe a side table, the dining table, so come follow me and I'll show you more stuff. Now I'm going to look for a dining table. And what we're looking for again is to warm up the space because it was like too austere and edgy. And we've got a lot of them, as you can see. I think this one's going to be great. It's nice and long and thin, and it has some really cool detail on the corners. So for the dining table, we wanted to do something really interesting. We wanted like a bench on one side and those chairs on the other, just to give it a little more authenticity and interest. So we've got this old vintage pew up there, which I think is gonna go great in this room.
One of the last steps is doing a walkthrough with her team and making edits before the final reveal.
So it's reveal day here at the Downtown Loft, and I'm excited to show you the things we made changes to and all the things we added. And we're gonna start here in the living room. So for example, we talked about that cool hearth built-in bench that we made. What it did was really created not only extra seating, but sort of solved an awkward space. We created ambient lighting in the nook and a new seating area where you can read a book or have a cocktail. I love it. It's one of my favorite things. So then the giant artwork, it's everything. It's really like popping off the wall. This is a huge white wall. What else do you do with it? We give a really substantial piece of art, a statement piece. We wanted this really tall floral moment to balance the art on this big white wall, and I think it really accomplished that. I think this space looks fantastic. So before we get to the kitchen, I actually wanted to show you these gorgeous pieces of art that we created in the art department. Really add like a nice continuity between the rooms. Here in the kitchen, the changes we wanted to make were a few. They start here on this big empty shelf that was here. So what we did was we added some cool sculptures with some organic moments. It really feels finished but not overcrowded, and I think we've really accomplished that. Now that said, the real transformation happened here in the dining room. So we went with these curved back chairs that are done in linen, and we went with a darker sort of like neutral color. We also have the pew that we chose in the warehouse, and then the beautiful wood edge table. But the major piece here, which really grounds a dining room that is part of another room, is a statement chandelier. And here we use beautiful crystals so that it, sort of doesn't block the light. It really just sort of casts the light all over the room. So another major transformation is here in this cool cocktail lounge. One, we created this cool banquette. But more importantly, we have this accent wall, and we've added a few of these accent walls, and they serve a couple of purposes. One, to really differentiate this space from that space, which is very close by. Two, it pushes the wall back, believe it or not, so it makes the room feel larger. At the bottom of the stairs was a space that had no functionality. And we created a dual function here. Not only is it a gallery moment, which is really cool, but now it's also a moment where you can just sit here, have a drink, read an art book, and now it has a function. So here we are, having finished the master suite. We added these beautiful fabric headboard walls to soften the brick. We've added some more rounded shapes and texture, like in this pelt, to soften the room and make it feel more luxurious. The low-profile furnishings really help make the ceilings feel higher. So the final story we're telling in this master suite is one of serenity, to soften the look, create a nice lounge. The giant mirror leaning reflects the window and the light and makes the room feel more spacious and lighter. So here we are on the rooftop terrace where I'm finishing telling the story with staging. I'm using accessories here to show functionality here and how you might use the space. You're gonna have a nice glass of wine at night maybe before heading over to the jacuzzi.
Cheryl's job is especially important this year because the luxury market has been struggling.
The carrying costs every month for the seller are painful and it's very expensive. So when we stage, we try to get it sold in half the time.
So at this point, all the furniture is in, all the edits are made, all the details are perfected. And Cheryl and her team have created a space with a new story. Hopefully one that somebody wants to call home.